Now, staying with the DA's Federal Congress, political analyst Sanet Madonsela joins us to provide a closer look at the leadership race. Sanet, good evening and thank you very much for your time. I must say, a very interesting day one of the Congress. Sivuyo Rahube's address starting off with that montage of reportage on the ANC and then her going on to state that the ANC has brought the country to a free fall of destruction. So essentially, the ruling party's governance or misgovernance, as they would say, is somewhat of a prominent feature at this Congress, which is not only viewed by members of the political party, but just the public at large. Your views on just that?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I think that it was quite spot on. I think in order for you to start off a conference, you need to take cognizance of what's happening. And I think it was a good way to just start off with our current context, what South Africa, the challenges that South Africa is facing, and how to move on from there. So I think they set the stage quite interestingly with something that a lot of South Africans would agree with.
Now, many of those delegates on the sidelines stated that this Congress is essentially their road to the union buildings. Does it look like a serious possibility?
There's two ways of looking at this. So if I have to be frank, a lot of people think that it wouldn't work if you take a conservative person like John Steenhuisen and you use him to run up against Cyril Ramaphosa. The other group of people believe that someone like Mpho Phalatse might actually signify a significant change within the Democratic Alliance, but she doesn't really have much of a constituency. So it's just, what is John's plan? He's gone up against Ramaphosa in terms of your local government elections, in terms of the DA. We didn't really see that much of a change. So I don't know if he is a serious contender, if the South African population does have confidence in him. But I do think that if the DA focused on how they governed then and the successes that they have had in terms of their governance, then he might be able to.
That was going to be my next question, actually, that what does South Africa need now? What kind of a leader is needed in the official opposition if we look at what's happening with the coalition governments? I mean, they're unraveling. So what kind of a leader would need to emerge before we really look at what these two contenders bring to the party?
I think that South Africa finds itself in quite a pickle. I think a lot of people don't actually have trust in the political parties and what they have to offer and so on. So I think something that I would definitely urge the DA to do is focus on what they've managed to achieve thus far, which is clean governance, which is good governance and so on. So let that be your message, because I think South Africans have reached a point where they have moved beyond ideology, where they have moved beyond where they've moved beyond your people who say all the right things and then do all the wrong things. So I think they need a pragmatic leader. They need someone who will be able to ensure that we have light and water, that there's quality education, that there's quality healthcare. So I think that's what South Africa is ready for. So if they focus on that, saying, hey, this is what you don't have, this is what we can do, I think that they actually would be able to gather more South Africans to actually vote for them. But I would also say move away from just saying, hey, we are a liberal party and so on, because you might then push away people who may not believe in that ideology. So try to be a catch-all party, but don't lose your identity and actually focus on what they have, which is that they have a system of meritocracy that works. So focus on your governance, focus on all the things that you do right. And I think that that would be a good recipe for success.
Then to the federal chair, Helen Zille, all indications are that she'll be returning as chair because Lungile Mpeyane has pulled out of the race. She pulled out at the 11th hour. What did you make of that?
I think that there has been a lot of speculation in terms of people of color in the Democratic Alliance. I don't know if she would have won if she had gone up against Ms. Zille. So I think that a lot of these positions, while they have people going up against the person or the incumbent, I don't think that we are going to see a lot of change. I think that whether it is from your federal chair, whether it is other positions such as the leader of the party, I think that we're not really going to see a lot of changes. I think Steenhuisen is going to emerge victorious tomorrow. I think that Ms. Zille is going to stay in as federal chair. I think her current deputy, who's also running to be her deputy, will definitely have that position. So there's not a lot of change.
Then just to take you back to your point around merit, they've decided to focus on merit quite extensively this time around. Helen Zille being interviewed on the sideline stating that the focus on race really didn't achieve what they had hoped it would. It was actually a big mistake that they've learned from. How do you think this position around pushing for merit as opposed to race or gender would resonate with the electorate?
I think that South Africans would actually quite go with that. But if we had to look at the leadership of the Democratic Alliance, I think that they have a fair amount of women and men on their leadership committees in terms of their leadership committee. So I think there's gender. In terms of the race issue, I don't think that they are succeeding given how many of the people of color have been dropping out in terms of the party. But I do think that them focusing on the actual strengths, which is governing and so on, I think that that is positive. I think that it diverts the attention away from all of the infighting that's going on in terms of the party. And it actually makes people focus in on the 2024, what they need and what the DA can deliver for them.
And then that final speech by the two candidates, starting with John Steenhuisen, what did you make of his? He reiterated his 7 pledges.
I don't think that it was surprising because John said all of the right things. He said what he has been saying throughout his campaign. He has been appealing to what he believes that his constituency wants to hear. And I think he's been quite successful because if you look at the number of people who have pledged to vote with him, you would note that he is far ahead of Mpho Phalatse. But I also think that she had a very insightful speech. I think the fact that she's a medical doctor means that people have confidence in her ability to lead and so on. She's mentioned all the positions that she's held. But I do think that if you just look at Steenhuisen's time at the DA, he's been there since the 1990s, whereas Mpho Phalatse has been a medical doctor for quite some time before she went into politics. I think that on that ground, he may have a bigger constituency than she does, and I think that that may be the reason why he would win. I don't think that she should quit politics altogether. I actually think that if she stuck around and if she continued to build her voter base and so on, I think that she would be a serious contender for the 2029 national elections, and I actually think that she would have the capacity to take the DA forward.
So you believe her argument that it's immaterial how long you've been in a party, it's all about impact. You believe that argument was lost?
I think for now it is. I think that a lot of people don't know her that well. I think that John came in at an opportune time when the DA was, sorry for a lack of better wording, in shambles. He basically came to put the party back together, and a lot of people think that the DA has been doing well under his leadership and that he's managed to actually create some form of unity within the party. And I think that's why a lot of people are going to go with him, because they actually believe that he deserves a second term. But I do think that she is spot on. I think that she should just keep working, keep increasing her support base. And I think if she wanted to, if she ran again for 2029, she would definitely be able to become the chair.
Sanet, thank you very much for your time this evening. That was political analyst Sanet Madonsela.